Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Sorry for the delay. We wanted to wait for the people coming from Bordeaux. And so I think almost everybody's there. So we're going to start with a few words. So first of all, welcome to this first oral presentation of the second year projects of the master from the P19 cohort. So just a few words about this M2 project. So it's just some reminders. So you will see today 6 teams of 9 to 12 students who are organized as studios in order to develop the conception and pre-production of a whole game. So you're going to see the pitch of 6 games today. You have the names here. So 3 this morning, 3 this afternoon. And you have to know that this project will be developed during about 4 months. 4 months that are not only dedicated to the project, they do have lectures in the same time. And they have to deliver a vertical slice. And doing so, they have appointment with you, the jury of professionals, 3 times. So today is the first time. We are about 1 month and a half away from the beginning of the process. And I remember they have a lot of lectures, so it's about 2-3 weeks of actual work on the project. And we will meet again about in 1 month for following the progression. And then the final presentation will be mid-February. So I really want, in the name of the whole school, I really want to thank you, the jury, to be here or online. Your duty is to ask questions, to share feedbacks as much as possible, either live here during the presentation or in the time we kept at lunchtime and at the end of the day, directly on the working place the students are on top of the amphitheater in order to exchange and give them as many feedbacks as you can. We ask you also to complete the file. You should have received a link to a file, so please fulfill it with any comments that could come. We will ask you to fulfill this file within a week, till the end of next week, in order to have as many feedbacks as possible. So lots of feedbacks, maybe too much talks. So thank you again to be there. It's really important for the students to have this exchange with you as professionals. But now, among the jury, we do have a particular guest. So we are really, really happy to have Jan van der Krussen as the godfather of this P19 cohort. So Jan, if you like to say a few words to, maybe to present yourself, and then a few words to the students.
Hello. I'm really honored to be the godfather. Godfather? That sounds a bit evil, like godfather. Okay. So to be the godfather of this promotion. I'm a former Cnam-Enjmin student. I come from planet Serge Asquette, a planet very far away. That's the name of my godfather. For some reason, I think back then I probably skipped some important information. I don't know, I kept hearing that name during the year. People were saying Serge Asquette. But it took me a long time to understand who he actually was. I understood that it was an important person. So just to make sure you don't remember me as the planet name, I'm going to introduce myself quickly. I'm a musician. I mainly work for video games, as you might expect. The latest project I've worked on is Stray, a game with a cat. I would say doing music is half of my job, and the other half is helping with a lot of small projects, books, making tools for artists, making shows, sometimes involving stuff that are related to video games and sometimes not. So yeah, I'm not sure what is expected of me. I hope I can help you. If you need anything, I'd be happy to help, and I'm excited to see what you have to show. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan. So, as you said, we are all wanting and looking forward to hear what you have to present to us. So let's go. 6 teams, 6 games. Each team has about 10 minutes to present their game, and then we will have about 30 minutes of talk. So let's go, and thank you.
The year is 19-something, and it's another regular day in the suburbs of somewhere, America. Well, almost. You see, a small robot is currently waking up in a basement lab. Her maker, who used to wake her up very gently every morning, is nowhere to be found. In fact, he has been gone for over a year now, and has left her with one last very simple task: to find happiness. Welcome to the first presentation of Suburbia Electronica, and please, make yourself at home. Since it's the first time we meet, let me introduce the team. First, our game designers, Martin and Majda, Marco and Jules as programmers, Lohan and Solène for the game art, Tom is our sound designer, Vitya for UX and user research, myself, Tristan, as producer, and finally, of course, the one who puts the electronica in Suburbia Electronica, our little robot. Suburbia Electronica is a social sim adventure game about kindness, love, and all things that could make a robot's heart glow just a bit softer. All this contained in a charming 10 hours indie solo experience for PC and later consoles. Let's dive into the game pillars. First, Suburbia Electronica is a care adventure. Our game is centered around compassion, and we want to give glory in the small victories of everyday life, being together and helping one another. Walking in the footsteps of recent successful wholesome games, this will allow us to tackle on uncozy topics in a gentle way. Then, we aim for a quirky writing and art direction. We want to bring magic to the mundane, to create a childlike fascination mirroring the robot's discovery of human life. For this, we take inspiration from the spirits of late 90s Japanese adventure games like Moon, My Summer Vacation, or Tulip. Finally, we feature a sociogram, or social puzzling feature. Play as a robot discovering suburban living, and as you get to know your neighbors, get to know yourself. We'll talk about this in more details. Pushing this mechanic will allow us to modernize our retro inspiration, all while differentiating ourselves from the fruitful but already quite saturated wholesome games market.
Regarding Suburbia Electronica base gameplay loop, it can be divided in 3 simple parts: explore, solve, and connect. Let's dive deeper into each one. First, exploration. Walk around a lively Suburbia America, discover its community and how they make this place their home. We aim for a vibrant and cozy tone, but still not childish. Now we can show you a simple in-engine prototype video just to picture the mood. During your exploration, you will see that your neighbor often need help to make their life easier. Here comes problem solving. You will perform a succession of specific actions in a puzzle fashion. Follow the NPCs during their schedules and use logic to find and use the right items. From morning until night, every important conversation or action will make hours pass by. You won't be able to talk to everyone in a single day, but there is no rush. Just take your time. Finally, solving a quest rewards you by giving you some information about your new friends. This will be useful for our last point, the sociogram. This is a key feature. The professor equips the robot's heart with a special something to help her, an interface keeping track of the social connections around her. When you solve a quest, you are rewarded by knowledge which appears in the sociogram like a notebook. Your goal will be to fulfill it completely. The interface is available at any time and consists of two tools. Let's see that. First, an overall view of the suburbs relationships. This progress tracker will be updated automatically as you complete quests, meet and get to know new people. Check it often to figure out where to go next. It's also a way of gating the adventure, because the robot won't be able to understand all human relationships at first. Let's select one of the characters. For example, Clara. Now we open a more in-depth character sheet. This time, you will be the one putting the information you learned during the quest. We are still thinking about the right input to do this, but we know that we want players to focus on getting to know the NPCs. Where to find them, what are their like and dislike, etc. Any important information about them will go here and make completion percentage go up. In brief, you walk around and find someone, you figure out and give them what they need by following their quest line, and finally, you put in the information you gathered along the way into the sociogram. Rinse and repeat until the sociogram get 100% completion.
For the progression, at the moment we are fragmenting the game in the sociogram completion percentage with 3 acts. By completing quests, and once you have a high enough percentage, you'll unlock new places, interaction, and of course, quests. We currently plan on going up to 9 quests inside each act. For the vertical slice, we aim for a 10 to 15 minute completion of one easy quest at the beginning of the game and at the end of the first act, somewhere around here. So this quest is about finding a name. The quest will focus on the robot's identity and also her relationships to others. The person giving this quest is Elvie, the tired but loving father of the Kulkarni family. And there is currently a writing prototype available at Robot Space, so feel free to visit us to play it. Through this quest, we want to showcase our narrative pillar. The choices of those pillars are inherently linked to the topic of the suburb, which is the place that is built for the pursuit of happiness, but where no one really knows how to define it. The robot's goal is thus to question those morals, and through her questioning, create links between people who are not just trying to find happiness for themselves, but now also for their neighbors. Thus, becoming a community, where people are not just neighbors now, but their family. Streets will transform, spaces will be created, and new tradition will be made. This newfound super system will help a little heroine go to her grief. Indeed, the robot is dealing with the loss of her own identity since her maker is gone. And this community will help her understand the professor's feelings better and eventually help her find out what happened to him. Throughout the game, all of those themes combined will allow us to explore the theme of the suburbia life, as our game is both a critique of the nuclear family dynamic and a celebration of humanity.
Now let's talk about art direction. During the game, the player will be able to discover a neighborhood heavily inspired by American suburbs. It offers us the opportunity to give an urban twist to wholesome games and creating a unique and quirky community. American suburbs were created to sell a specific idea of happiness, so what a better place to tell our robot's existential journey. We want the main ambience to feel cozy, to balance some of the deeper narrative thematics. That's why we introduce softness, especially through a pastel filter. But cozy doesn't always mean being overly cute, round or soft. So we decided our artistic direction to embrace imperfections through textures, weird and quirky shapes.
Suburbia Electronica assumes a 2.5 artistic direction. Our 2D characters are living in a 3D world. We are using fixed camera as an homage to old games vibe and aesthetic, like My Summer Vacation. This choice allows us to have a real control of the staging on the different shots, with lights, scale, angle, sound, and in-frame composition. The suburbs are places of life. We portray a colorful and relatable cast the player will feel connected to. A neighborhood of diverse people who are living their own adventure. From Rat the raccoon, who just like to wander in trash, to Arshada, the shy dinosaur-obsessed girl. And maybe, with time and affection, they will share a bit more of the story with our robot.
Speaking of the cast, we also want to characterize NPC through sound, and especially dialogue sounds. We want to emphasize the diversity of their personalities by using textured and material sounds instead of, let's say, voice or gibberish. We're rhyming between the softness of Mutazione and the silliness of Don't Starve. As for the music, we want the mood to be cozy and quirky, as mentioned before. The main inspiration are niche artists on SoundCloud making music with cheap machines and instruments. Because they are unprofessional artists, their music can sound weird but very sincere. It's the music that someone living in the suburbs could make, just to have a good time and express themselves.
Since we're aiming for a very niche audience, we have to nail down who they are as best as we can. For this, we gather data from various sources with interviews, a survey, and the gamer profiles from Quantic Foundry. We've managed to highlight two kinds of players for now. The task-oriented completionist who loves to play a game to relax and complete goals for the sake of it and have a relaxing experience. Having this and the story-driven explorer who plays to feel like a part of a big story and a mysterious universe, who wants to discover quirky characters and bond with them. Having these profiles on hand allows us to know how to satisfy them while also subverting their expectations. In terms of accessibility, we also have some plans. Our programmers have already been working on many features to have fully customizable text boxes. The whole team is designing the game with colorblind accessibility in mind, with good shape language for important information. And finally, since the exploration and sociogram are going to be very important to the game, we might develop features to streamline these processes and allow people who can't explore 3D worlds or navigate complex UI to experience our game more easily. Thank you for your attention, and here's our team again.
Thank you. Who wants to start with the questions? Yes. I will ask you to present yourself, please, before your question. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Cécile. I work at Focus Entertainment. I'm part of the team that received the pitch deck and filters the projects that we're going to assess. So first, congrats, because it's a very comprehensive introduction to your game, and I think we have a quite good, or at least we feel like we have a quite good understanding of what the game is, and for a first presentation, it's a challenge, and that's cool. I really love the robot design. It looks like a cute turnip. I love it. I have a question, though, on the sociogram features. Maybe it's a bit early, and that's why you didn't go further. I'm not sure I understood how we actually fill the sociogram. Do we have, is it filled automatically with the interactions? Do we have more agency? That kind of stuff. But thank you very much, and congrats again.
Okay.
Some information are automatically filled, yes, like the relationship part of the sociogram. But on the character sheet part, we don't exactly know how, but the information will probably appear somewhere in the void of the sociogram, and it's the player who need to put it and drag and drop on the right place.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. It was very comprehensive and quite motivating, I think, engaging for us, so it's good. I love this kind of games, so I'm a bit, I'm not neutral. But yeah, so you know me, my name is Clémentine Plissonnier. I was your teacher this week, so yeah, you know me well. I'm a freelance game designer. Can I ask 2 questions? Okay. So my first question is about controllers, actually, because you didn't talk about the 3C of your games, you know, camera, controller, character. Maybe it's a bit early, but in fact, I think the question about sociogram is very interesting because you have a quite simple task on the 3C of your the exploring part, because it's not very it's been done before, so you'll have a lot of inspiration. But for the sociogram, you'll have a lot to think about in terms of accessibility, in fact, because if you have different ways to do that, especially if you have like multiple choices. Or I don't know if you played Obradin, but in Obradin you have a lot of choices in a menu déroulant. I don't know how to say that. So in a menu déroulant, and it's quite hard to decipher exactly what terms mean what exactly, and you have they also have problems with translation, which you won't have because it's not, you're not there yet, but that's an option for you. Another option will be to type things, but I think it would be quite hard to validate. And all these things will ask questions with accessibility, because do you want to play with a controller? Do you want to play with a keyboard and mouse? Do you want to have a short stack of options? So that's one thing you have to think about, and you have to keep in mind accessibility, not only for disabled players, but also in terms of memory and learning. So if you have a lot of information, it will be hard to memorize who said that. Do you have like a temporary way to complete, a definitive way? So this kind of stuff. Do you have time to think about it? But think about it. And I had a second thing that was really connected to what we said what we said Tuesday. I don't know if you remember, we talked about Stardew Valley and the way you could establish or not relationships in Stardew Valley. Do you remember? Okay. And in Stardew Valley, we said that it was a bit bland and quite hard to question, and quite something we could question about the relationships, because how do you build connection with someone? Do you want to make your character happy? Will she be happy only if she knows a lot about the characters, or what do the characters what can them give to her? Actually, you may have to question like consent, attachment, reciprocity is very important to build this kind of attachment. So that's something I would like you to care about in your mechanism, in your friendship mechanism. Do you have an answer already?
The find happiness is a goal the robot has, but since it's a 10-hour experience, the concept of happiness would be questioned. Of course, like what will be mostly questioned is what does it mean to be happy? It's too close. Sorry.
Don't worry. It's the mic is.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
How the mechanic through the sociogram is very different. How you get attached to people. Understanding the sociogram is more about the puzzle and furthering the questioning and how to invent in the game. And of course, it will be linked to how you connect to other, but it won't be the main aspect of how the character gains happiness. Just in general, the happiness chase is a wild goose chase. So it's something that you cannot get. Oh, one day I found happiness. It was on the ground somewhere. It's a more just a true line and a way to motivate the player than a genuine goal.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just keep in mind the connections and the reciprocity. It's very important. Thank you.
Yes, hello everybody. Maida Del Solar, Art and Creative Director here in Enjmin. I'm writing this down, but I was having with this district or neighborhood kind of Tim Burton, but not that creepy. I was thinking about Frank Capra. He's a very old director, but he works about happiness in a neighborhood like this. So I will give you the references. Try to see all these films, because it's not about the neighborhood, it's not about the robot, but it's about finding inside happiness, and it comes with respect for each other, and it comes also with a dramaturgy. So it cannot come without a problem, but the problem has to be solved. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I will just give the mic in the room. Just a reminder for those who are online, if you want to ask question or make reaction, please raise your hand on the Zoom app, and I will see you, and I can give you the place to talk. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. I'm Thomas. I work at Dontnod as a 3D environment artist. I liked the presentation, thank you. So I have a question, but I think it's very early. But the mood board for the environments is very urban, with a lot of, I'd say, not that cute places. And right now you have houses and stuff that are, it's still cute, even though it's quirky. Do you plan on putting some more, I'd say, punk elements in the environments? Since I think that the characters are have a lot of personality, and how do you plan to make maybe a more dirty and more maybe American with I don't know, maybe cars, or since these cities are built for cars and stuff like that? How do you plan to incorporate that in the game? Thanks.
The idea for now, for the prototype, we just put like the basic house, because it's a model, just like the suburb, we will multiply them. But the idea is also to bring characters' personality with the house and how they personalize it. So we are looking to add more elements later on, like, for example, there is a big garden often before the houses in the suburbs. We can add elements, and there is like an iconic place where imagining to put it in like a diner place, and we are looking to put more quirky elements inside of it and add more personality afterwards. So it's coming. But thank you for your feedback. It's important.
Nice. Thank you.
Mylène, if you want to go.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. It's a bit low.
Perfect.
That's
okay. I'm
perfect.
trying to hit my microphone. So hello, my name is Mylène. I work at Work in Business, and I do marketing for Indie. First, thank you for the presentation. The PowerPoint is really clear, beautiful. So yeah, a good point on that. I do have a question regarding the writing. You didn't talk about the inspiration you have to write the story and dialogues. So first, can you share me a bit regarding that? And the other point I just wanted to say, I know it's a little bit early right now, but as soon as you will be ready, it will be really great to add in the presentation some GIFs or short video of conversation, because this will be a big point of your game. So we need to be able to understand very quickly that the writing will be good and conversation will be interesting. So as soon as you have something ready, do not hesitate to add it to the presentation.
Thank you for your feedback. The writing is so far inspired by quirky Japanese games such as Moon and Tulip. It's very a mix between puzzle-driven and hint mechanic, but also conversational. It's really about knowing people. My personal inspiration for the writing is Phineas and Ferb. Like a very simple but understandability of everyone. Each character has their own voices, and there is this sense of eclectic cast that has their own voices and are driven by different things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Timothée. I'm a sound designer from Ubisoft. It's more a remark for the future than for today. You introduced the game with the goal, the topic, which is understanding and finding happiness. And then when you presented the system for the quests, maybe there was something missing for me, is how you will keep the link between the topic and the quest system. And maybe that's something hard for you in the future, to make sure that we always keep in mind what is the goal, what is the topic, and make sure we always understand how you will implement this topic in your quest system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have time for last question or remark. Yes. Some other question, remark? No, it's the start of the day. Maybe they want us to catch up with the time. So please, let's congratulate the first team of this morning, Suburbia Electronica. And let's welcome the second one, a celt ode.
Hi everyone, welcome to Kel's Auto presentation. Balance was lost. The world around you crumbles, cracks, slowly sinks. The creatures all in agony, driven mad by the loss of their bearings, searching for a new equilibrium they cannot reach. This is a tale of mourning, of grief, of how our ancestors wandered the land in order to search for a way to survive. A tale of how our gods left and how the ancient beast had to transform into what we know today. Welcome to A Celt's Ode.
So, A Celt's Ode is a tactical RPG with a big emphasis on creating a unique world inspired by Celtic culture and history. The game is right now being developed for PC, although we're working on a movement system that would work quite well with a controller. And to help the team to have a common vision around the user, we did an empathy map. As a result, our target of public is mid-core players, but thanks to some options with the level of difficulty, we aim to reach more casual player. Our next step is to spread a survey shared to typical RPG, tactical RPG player to better define our public. So right now we're using a paper prototype to iterate on our tactical gameplay with asymmetrical characters. And implementing happens in parallel with a powerful level design tools to handle our hexagonal tiles. It works through procedural generation and is fully customizable. So our first goal is to create a game that at all time feels celt. We want the player to experience this world through a simple exploration system and some classic narration. And although our game is bathed in mythology more than history, we're working with an archaeologist to make sure that our closest building, characters, and weapons evoke the Celtic words as much as possible. We try to avoid the traps that most games with Celtic influence fall into. We don't want to mix different culture that looks alike, but rather focus on the Celt one. And because we live alongside mythological creatures in our game, we fight against forces that can't be reckoned with. And that means that you cannot fight them in a traditional way, and because of that we created a tactical system based on terrain control that we're going to present to you now.
So our tactical encounters will take place on a map of hexagonal spaces. You'll be fighting to stabilize the land, prevent it from falling apart to the influence of the morning. To do that, you'll need to get your characters into special areas that are highlighted here in green and stabilize them by holding your ground. This adds an area control element to the core tactical decision-making. I spare you the details, but the important takeaways are intent to take the focus away from violence and combat. The morning cannot be fought head-on. And indeed, you'll be trying to balance a variety of winning and losing conditions, of which you need only accomplish a few. You might pray for the gods' favors, occupy sacred stones, pacify the beasts in pain that are attacking you, or maybe sacrifice boars for power. This will depend on your scenario, but the important part is you cannot win just by defeating enemies. And you certainly don't have the time to do everything. 4 characters at once on a map means that you have many options, but you can only activate 2 each turn. This adds a lot of tension to your decisions. You must choose well, be smart, and be tactical.
Once the encounter is over and calm has returned, you have now the time to explore the world once again. The game is not an open world, but offers geographical discovery through gating. The player can unlock different paths according to the condition of victories fulfilled in the previous fight. For example, if you choose to stabilize a forest or the swamp, you will not cross the same area afterwards. Maybe the A or the B. But however, all the paths taken gather to a point to catch up with the story, and you will end up in the area C. Elements present in the environment. We also provide narrative discovery. All the lore of the game is not given to the player, only the main plot motivating their goal. Elements present in the environment are the object descriptions, NPCs, specific dialogue choices, or even your victories, your condition of victories, as shown here with example from Dark Souls and Baldur's Gate 3, will allow you to deepen the lore if it's what you want.
The game will take place in a 3D environment viewed from an isometric camera angle. We'll feature stylized 3D characters and models to ensure easy readability without compromising immersion that's integral to the game. Since Celt is still early in its conceptualization phase, most of our artists' efforts are going to be directed towards creating concept art. This approach helps us better understand our needs and further refine the game's development in the direction we find most suitable. For the graphic direction, we decided to embrace the Celtic nature of our story with the patterns, symbols, and themes that we commonly associate with the Celt mythology, while also straying away from common stereotypic depictions.
To enhance the Celtic nature of our story, music will be heavily based on Celtic music with all instruments that were used through the centuries, such as recent instruments like the bouzouki or other ones like cornix. The idea is to blend these instruments of Celtic cultures to make an immersive score that will move players into the myth we tell. To make it more organic and authentic, we even found musicians to record the score of our game. Here is a quick demo we made using digitally emulated Celtic instruments to showcase you how these instruments sound like.
These sounds, together with the graphics, will carry us to a land where nature once flourished, but has now taken a turn for the worse. Trees that burrow into the ground, with thick roots and lush branches that reach for the skies, will fill the map, as well as carved rocks formations and evidence of the vivid creatures that inhabit the forest.
Sound design will have to bring life to these supernatural creatures from the myth, and we will focus on making lively sonic ambiances in these lush environments full of fauna. There will also be slight musical patterns during exploration phases to really highlight sound design of ambiances, as in Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, for example.
The players will guide a small party of characters that project a strong individual personality that fits with the role in the group. Our characters are a free-spirit druidess who's deeply connected with nature, a stronghold warrior with a motherly protection instinct, a sneaky old hunter full of tricks, and a brave little boar rider ready to charge at the enemy.
We'll use Breton or other Celts languages to voice our characters. We already found Breton speakers that could help us to do that. Moreover, each character will have a lead music instrument that represents them to highlight their uniqueness. These instruments will appear each time player will control a character during combat phases, switching from one to another depending on which character player controls. Speaking of music during the combat, we want the same tribal, primitive tones and epicness as the Witcher 3 combat music, while still using Celtic instruments. Here's a quick excerpt from it.
So here is a glimpse of what the game currently looks like. As you may have noticed, the turn-based structure and hexagonal map prototypes are done. Even if there is no enemies or goals yet, the core structure is done, which means basically that it iterates through characters, allowing the player to move them by interacting on the map until the player presses the end turn button. We mostly focused on the movement part, so the pathfinding and its related feedbacks We can see all reachable tiles according to the movement capacity, the one targeted by the player when mouse hovering, and it's also, and if it's a reachable one, the resulting path. As our game is a tactical and on an hexagon map basis, the most important step was to prepare the ground, in a manner of speaking, for our core gameplay. So we made a tool that will be used for level design and gameplay features, a procedural hexatile map. As we didn't want to be limited by the hexagonal meshes for the environment and exploration, we made it work for both hexagonal and landscape. As every tile adapts to landscape, but can be generated without as well. Each generated tile in addition to pathfinding, some hexagonal algorithms were implemented to make further development easier. We can access to tile neighbors, trace line of tiles, get the ranged one, etc. It covers almost everything we need, and we are now about to focus on interactions and skills.
So our objective was to try and have a deeper understanding of the market we want to dive in. Obviously, tactical RPG knows rhyme with Baldur's Gate, but that's a bit out of our reach. However, we do believe that there's something we can take from it, and that's the early access system. It's quite popular in the tactical landscape, and we think it's a good fit. We want the game to first launch a few months after the end of pre-production, once we have a significant part of the early game that's playable. This will allow us to gather feedback, to have a better understanding of our player base, as well as to create a community. During the early access phase, we'll update the playable section with new features while keeping the rest of the adventure hidden. That will allow us to find funds that will continue to raise after the game's release. We'll work on big DLCs, almost like extension packs, that we will be able to sell at quite a high price. For the late life of the game, our goal is to make the base game widely available through subscription services in order to be able to easily access the DLC for the players and to make afterwards console ports. Well, thank you for your time, and here's the team.
Thank you. Yes, you answer with this. Who wants to start with questions, reactions? Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. It was quite interesting. I'm quite fond of tactical games, so it's nice. I'm very sorry, but I was an archaeologist in past life, so I'd like to know what is the Celtic nature of the things, because you speak about Celtic things, a lot of things, but what I see is mostly epic fantasy, and it's confirmed by the designs, which are very high fantasy with riding boards. So I know I'm annoying with that, but I'd like to know what Celtic culture, when, is it Iron Age, Bronze Age, is it late Celtic? Is it fantasy Celtic, like what Chrétien de Troyes wrote later? I'd like to see a more defined vision of what is Celtic. In my opinion, it's more fantasy inspired by Celts. So yeah, that's what I had to say. But nice presentation.
Thank you for your question. So obviously, our game is inspired by what late antique Celts would imagine their mythologic past would be. This is the base of our game. So we are using myth that would take place during the Iron Age, like a fantasized Iron Age of the Celts, like continental Celts imagining their mythological past. Does that answer your question?
Hello. Thank you for the presentation. I'm Gaston, user researcher at Ubisoft Bordeaux. I might have missed an information, and I'm not sure if I missed it or not. Is it a player versus player game? Do we play versus other players, or do we play versus AI?
No, yeah, we did not specify it, but yeah, it's a player versus enemy single-player game. Yeah.
Okay.
You're
okay.
right.
Okay. Okay. I have another question. Then I do really think that your pitch is interesting, specifically the fact that you're talking about winning fights without the violence. I think it's really catchy. It's really interesting. You said that you had some paper prototypes. I would really love to have a look at some gameplay loop of. You talked about the winning condition, for example, but I don't know what I'm controlling. Do I control one character, multiple characters? How do I stop the other enemies from taking the territories and stuff like that? Because it sounded more like a race, like you have to take territories and slow down the others. But I really would have loved to take a sneak peek on your prototype to see what are those their limitations and stuff like that.
So the prototype is available on the Plateau project, and it is fully playable.
Nice.
To talk about what you said, yes, there is a racing element to the gameplay because you have various losing conditions, like you have the morning that's going to spread and you're trying to stop that from reaching a critically high level, or the region is going to lose its balance fully and it's going to be engulfed. You have a turn limit, you have enemies that keep respawning, like you can commune with them to pacify them, appease their pain, and then they leave the fight. So basically you're eliminating them, but the flavor is different, right? But you can't focus on that because they're going to keep respawning, and the victory conditions are not necessarily focused on that combat. Well, it's not combat yet, and you have a variety of actions that you have to balance against one another. And you control 4 characters at a time, currently in the prototypes, and you can only activate 2 each turn. So you really have to choose which of your characters you're going to leave in danger, maybe, and which of them are going to act. And you have some tension in the decision space that really comes from that. It's the idea that you can't do everything, and you have to adapt to what's happening currently in the fight. And so you have to take your decisions based on that, and so the game is quite tense, and so we're going to have difficulty levels so that players can play have an experience with a difficulty level that suits like their level at tactical games, and so the experience is not too tense and too hard and doesn't feel unfair.
Okay, thank you, perfect.
Hi again. Thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting. I have a few remarks, maybe on the form, but I think I'm gonna tell them personally on the Plateau project, because it's details and it's not about the project. About the project, correct me if I'm wrong, because it was quite fast, but I think I I think I understood that. You have like your combat turn-based phase, and I understood that there was also an exploration and dialogue phase. Is it right? Yeah, it's huge. It's a lot of work. I think it's too ambitious to have like different controllers, because if you have an exploration phase, it's gonna be a second game basically, plus your hexagonal navigation stuff. So it's going to be a lot of work. You have to be very careful. Maybe find clever solutions to make that still be in the game, and not overwork yourselves, because 4 months is very short. And I would much prefer have a shorter, more precise demo than a full experience where there are a lot of usability problems. So yeah, be careful about that. Talk with each other. What is the priority? And game designers, think about what you could do to have still narration and maybe discovery, exploration, without doing a full different 3C game integration and stuff. Okay? Do you have anything to answer, or? Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Thank you very much. I think you're right. And right now, so we're focusing on the combat system, and we are okay with only having that at the end of the day. That's our top priority. And we're still working on a character controller that would work with both faces. But you are right, and we are focusing on what you just said, creating narration through the combat system and creating some kind of exploration inside the tactical system as well. So.
Excuse me, I will just add something. Yes, it's for the moment the global vision of the game. The vertical slice won't have maybe both faces, or it will just it was just an illusion of exploration. In order to give a feedback of flavor of what the game could be in the vertical slice, it's still in discussion. It will depend on the scope and, yeah, the cost it needs. But yeah, we're working on the combat system to add some flavor of the narration, because we want to have barks, for example, between the characters, a system of affinity, for example, if the characters in the team with the phases of exploration before has grow some links to found between them, if they hate them, if they love or hate each other, for example, and have bonuses on the combat system, or depending on which character you active first and second during your turn. And maybe elements you will be able to cross path in the combat system that will give you elements of narration or those kind of things. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have...
Also, we are going to be using ink for the dialogue, and that's going to allow us to plug that in at any point and shout like appropriate, like context-appropriate lines of dialogue into the game at any point during the fight.
Thank you. We do have questions online. So Mylène, if you want to go.
Hello, so my name is Mylène. I work at Raccoon Business and I do marketing for Indie. I'm actually a huge fan of tactical, so thanks for the game. I can't wait to play it. I do have two remarks. First, for your pitch, I will change a bit because you say you have a game without violence, and then you talk about sacrifice animals, so I'm not sure it's the perfect words. Maybe you should, as you said, tactical without combat is more appropriate, and I think it's still a sexy pitch because there is not so many. I also think you can probably find competitors which are closer to you, Scope and Teams, because there is a lot of them on Steam, so you will probably find smaller ones than War Tales and Solastar, which is made by experience and big team. And my second remark, it's please be careful with the character design, because right now I don't know how final it is, but I saw a woman with like kind of cliche outfit, half naked, and I think we should really try to avoid that. It's the same if you work with historian, do not forget that history is sexist, because it's the way it's made actually right now. So we have sometimes bad consideration of what it was back then, because we don't always have really proof, and it's more about interpretation. So yes, please keep that in mind, and I can't wait to play it.
Thank you very much for your feedback.
Hello, so my name is Lucas. I'm a former producer, now I'm running my own game studio. I actually have a few comments and a question. First, it's pretty solid. I must admit I'm pretty impressed by the tech stack you've been building with the tile and the procedural things. I second what has been said regarding the scope size and ambitions versus your capacity. I think you'll have to define what's the minimum/core sets of features that will allow you to make your product shine and communicate your vision a great way. Now, regarding my question, we know this genre is known for having a strong entry barrier for players. You were mentioning a mid-core with some features to allow more casual player to enter in the game. What are your plans on accessibility for this type of players? You were mentioning difficulty, but what can we expect now on this side from your game?
So for the options for casual players,
For the moment, we have a lot of ideas, but for example, it can be less conditions for victory. Maybe we can do something with the artificial intelligence, less efficient, maybe. So it's in discussion, but we have a lot of ideas. I don't know.
Yeah, but that mostly pertains to the difficulty system. But yeah, we have an extensive list of properties like gameplay elements that we're going to be able to use as design knobs to tune the balance of the game in any difficulty level. And so we'd like to try to use that to make it more permissive. Because of the scope of the vertical slice, we're not going to be able to focus on onboarding. But as an experience, it would have an extensive onboarding phase through level design and a way to introduce very progressively every mechanic of the game, so that the learning curve is quite soft at the start, and because this is a campaign game, so we have a control over how we design this. And this onboarding, and it would be very much a part of the gameplay.
Okay, no, thank you. That's crystal clear, actually. And I just have one last question. I'm sorry, it popped out. You didn't mention any game length, like how many time will it take me to go through the whole game? You were mentioning a campaign. Could you be a bit more maybe extensive on this point?
It's still in the reflection part, because actually we don't really know since the exploration part is still there or not, and how many hours maybe it's going to take. So it's still in discussion. And I just wanted to add, in terms of accessibility, we also have some elements thanks for by the design. And we're also aware that there are going to be a lot of text, so there is a huge part with the UI. And we're also reflecting about a version to play with just one click, so it's also in discussion, but we have some elements.
Thank you. There's another question online. So Marie, if you want to go.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I'm Marie Archer. I'm a lead game designer at Ubisoft. I had a question about the characters. You told us that there were 4 of them. Are there different archetypes? Do they have like strengths and weaknesses? And depending on the type of task you assign them. And I also wanted to know if the terrain would affect the character's abilities. Or anything.
Yeah, the characters are indeed asymmetrical. Like they have various. We have planned various mechanical design. We are going to see how much we are able to get into the actual game, right? Because every asymmetrical aspect is going to take some development work. So maybe we're going to just start by focusing on how the different skills, like give them a varied moveset, and how these moveset can fulfill different roles. Yeah, they have archetypes like a tank or like a mobile character that's going to have a lot of mobility and be able to help other characters and stuff like that. So yeah, they have a very different, varied feel between them. And for the terrain, yes, it's going to be a big part of our design, how we are going to use the terrain and have various effects placed upon tiles, and the zones that we're trying to control are going to have effects associated to them. So yes, terrain is also an important part of the design.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. A last question.
Hello, I'm Justin Lesquira from Ubisoft Bordeaux. I'm Programming Technical Director. You talked about procedural generation and also about story. What will drive the player? Will it the replay value, like a chess game, or more like, you know, finishing the storyline and understanding the world or something like that? And how do you want to, you talked also about DLC. What will you sell? Will it be story or more chess pieces?
The procedural generation is the way the current tool works, but it's not going to be in the game. The game is going to be level designed like handcrafted stuff, so it's going to be more of a focus on the story. And the replay value is going to come from your choices, your narrative choices, and also the way you build your characters and try to tackle things, and from the exploration part and the branching path and stuff like that.
Thank you.
That's the current idea, at least.
Thank you so much. So please, congrats the team. So congrats to a Kelstone team. And let's welcome the last team of this morning, Run Out.
Yes, I'm sorry, we are 10 minutes ahead of schedule, so my team is not right here at the moment. We're going to look for them. 10 minutes ahead of schedule. We're in France, it's 5 minutes late normally. Yes, we found the last one. Okay, Javier, put the lights down. Okay, so thank you everyone for waiting for us. Thank you for being here. We are glad to be able to show you what we've accomplished in 2.5 weeks of work. We're gonna present you Run Out. And so what is Run Out? Run Out is a first-person horror game with time manipulation elements and a Super 8 found footage style. It's designed to be playable on PC and would last around 4 hours.
Okay, so in Run Out, you play as a young explorer that got trapped in the room of a castle. The only thing you can use in this room is an old televisor next to a multitude of VHS's filled boxes. Your main goal is to find a way to escape from this room and run out of this place. To help you escape, you will have access to several videotapes. These videos were recorded by previous people that explored the building and met their demise here. You will watch them to discover their fate and constantly learn about the hardship and obstacles they had to overcome as you play through their story, through the recordings. For the 3Cs, the game is playable on mouse and keyboard in an FPS view, and player embody a weak character that cannot fight back enemies.
So regarding our intentions, so we wanted to make a survival horror game, and we developed 3 main intentions. One regarding how we convey the fear. We wanted fear induced by the atmosphere and all the situation surrounding the players. Regarding our artistic intentions, we wanted a really good feeling of immersion and presence. And regarding the gameplay, we wanted a weak character who has to avoid enemies. So to push further these intentions, for the fear based on atmosphere, we don't want to rely on screamers. We want to put the players in situations where they have to really think about why and how they are taking risks. So we want to create a lot of situations with a lot of doubt, so that they have to take risks. And we want to play on threats that are either visible or invisible. Regarding the immersion, we want a point of view. We want to use photorealistic assets with Super 8 finish, a Super 8 filter on the camera, and realistic camera movements to feel like we are the one wandering in the castle. And to create a weak character, we wanted to create systemic creatures with strong enemies, with learnable patterns, fluid navigation, so the player can be swift and go to wander as they would like to, and mid-open world level design.
So these pillars were consolidated by our work on the target. We were able to define it based on our assumptions, which we then went on to test with real players on online communities with surveys or interviews. So this gave us information on how they play, mainly on PC and 2 big survival horror games. What are they motivated by? Immersive story, immersive experience, and strong sense of exploration. And it gave us some point of friction we should avoid with our game, like too much emphasis on the action, not enough on the interactions, generic story, or predictable situation. We put all this data together into a persona which is there to help with design decisions.
So more details about the game flow. The main gameplay loop is composed of 2 phases. The first one is a puzzle phase similar to an escape room, taking place in the present. In it, the main character is watching all videotapes. The second one is a survival phase. It takes place in the past through the reading of tapes. These 2 phases will play into one another as the surviving and finding hits, lore and knowledge. It, in the recording, will help the player solve puzzles in the present. They will also give more context to the player, helping them to understand what's going on in the building and find new tapes on their own. Regarding the survival horror game, survival phase, I mean, it begins when you insert a new tape in the VHS player. Each tape starts in a specific state, different spawn place, different period of time, different person, different context, and different objective.
So the main threat in the survival phase are the enemies. We plan to have 2 to 3 enemies, each with unique abilities, which are meant to synergize. So you may, when you are wandering in the level design, you may encounter these enemies, and if they grab you, they one-shot you, they kill you. However, thanks to the VHS player, you have the ability to rewind. So rewind is a consumable resource. And if you use it, you are able to go back in time for a few seconds and to try to replay an unsuccessful encounter to your advantage. However, if you have no more rewind left and that you are grabbed by an enemy, you are killed, and then if you want to try again, you have to try again from the beginning of the tape. On the other hand, if you achieve all of the tape's objectives, the tape will be validated, your progression will be validated, and you will be back in the present, in the safe zone, which is a tool to regulate rhythm, tension, and which will also allow us to develop narration.
Okay, so in order to achieve these ambitions, we are aware we need to build several systems. For example, level design, creatures, character controllers, objectives, and narrative design. And so far, we were able to build a prototype that focuses on the first 3 items. All of this needs to be designed in less than 2 months, because that's the February deadline. And we are aiming for a production plan of around 8 months in order to release next Halloween. So I said we built a prototype, and for example, here we have a level design that allowed us to test various hypotheses, but also allowed us to understand the complexity of the system itself. And for example, we had no clue at the beginning of pre-production that we would end up doing some game design about doors. We designed 1 creature so far that is mechanically designed and implemented, except for one thing, that it's supposed to be visible only during a rewind. For now, it's visible all the time, and we will show you. And for the rest, for all that it accounts for artistic direction, it's only placeholders for now. As for the character controller, of course, you can see that we have something that moves around, but we were able to implement the rewind system, and we will show it to you right now.
So we want the game, the game will take place in a French castle. We want to focus on the castle because it's kind of a conventional place to depict horror. We want the place to be full of history and play with space of the rooms to create different atmospheres. As we play through the lens of a Super 8 camera, we created some effects to convince this feeling. We made the Super 8 camera filter with a post-process and set the camera to the appropriate aspect ratio. We also added some realistic camera movements, such as head bobbing when the player moves, lean movements, and also a zoom. For the tension and fear, we want to create two moods. Low-intensity lighting areas with just the moonlight or lamp. In these areas, the flashlight will be really useful for the player. And brighter areas to create a contrast in tension during the exploration. So we tried some lighting scenarios to establish a first horrific mood.
Regarding the audio direction of the project, we've defined three main aspects of the audio palette that we want to use. The first element of the audio palette is immersion, meaning that we would like to have realistic acoustics and mechanical accuracy regarding the different gear you're using, meaning the Super 8 camera and the rewind system. The second aspect of the audio palette is the analog horror inspiration. We would like to take advantage of the old recording gear aesthetic to use some analog horror techniques for the sound design, such as futzing, analog artifacts, and low fidelity sounds. And finally, the subtlety aspect of the audio palette. As we said earlier, we would like to avoid jump scares. And also the sound design will be needed to convince narration through ambiances and create tension with silence. This game is full of audio challenges. The first one is an artistic one. We will have to design multiple creatures. And so creature design is kind of the main important thing. And obviously some technical challenges such as the rewind system. For now we have three different approaches, each with their own pros and cons. If you have some question about it, I can answer them, talk about them, I mean. And all of the problems arising from the rewind system, meaning the reverbs, memory allocation, and latency.
So far we are aiming for a vertical slice that would include at least two creatures, ideally two creatures, in order to show the synergies between them. And we're hoping we can we are able to show the narrative progression, so with two tapes and one phase in the present. And two tapes means two objectives and two slight variations of LD in order to represent, to convey the feeling of the different, the spacing out between the tapes. But that's an ideal version. And so far tentative. We'll be sure to focus more on it later on. Okay, so that's all for us now. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Here's our team.
Thank you. So, yes, I see the first hands rising, so I come in.
Hello, thanks for your presentation. It was really nice. I I think I understood most of it. I just had a simple question. It's about what you do in the present. You said the present in your vertical slice is supposed to last 5 minutes. So what are we supposed to do? Are we looking for new tapes? Are we exploring the level?
Okay, yes. Basically, my game designers will answer more specifically. But basically, right now, the present is mainly there for pacing purpose and narrative purposes as well. But we are working on the possibility of increasing the mechanical junction, and therefore maybe we would, whether implementing small enigmas or more exploration maybe. But I will let the game. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm arriving to the next question.
So, hello. I don't know if I need to reintroduce myself, but I'm Lucas, former producer. Now I'm running a game studio. I really understood the creative vision of what you're trying to build here with the vibe, the art direction, etc. But I think I have some trouble picturing what the core gameplay will be. And yeah, what am I going to achieve? What am I going to do as a player? What type of actions am I going to to accomplish? Sorry. And just a comment before you answer the question regarding the camera's work. I think it will require a lot of, but you might be aware of it, twists and tweaking regarding the motion sickness it could bring also to players. I mean, personally, I suffer a lot and I couldn't play the last Resident Evil first-person games because I was too sick. So yeah, just a comment, but yeah, my main question was more regarding the core gameplay and what am I going to achieve and what are my motivations as a player.
Yes, I feel you on the motion sickness part because I think there are few people that more concerned with this than me in the team. I get sick all the time during development. So we're going to work on that. Tu veux peut-être préciser l'expérience ou quelque chose?
So, regarding the main gameplay experience, it will be, so as we said, survival one. So it means that you have basically the level design, which is intended to be quite big. And then you will have objectives to achieve. And so you will have to try to go from a point A to point B. However, on your path, there are the enemies, the creatures that are wandering, and the whole interest of the gameplay, we really want the gameplay to be fun to play, not only when we are faced with the monsters, but all the time. So even each step you make, you have to kind of think of it, because, for instance, that's a way, a path we are thinking of, but we want to synergize, for instance, on the monsters. We want them to act on 3 different things. So on the position of the player, on the camera of the player, and on the sound of the player. For instance, we can have a monster that if you look at somewhere in particular in the level design, it attacks you, so it might kind of put doubt in the mind of the player at each step to know am I in danger or not. So same thing for positioning. We have a monster. In fact, the monster we have designed is a monster that kind of forces you to be in certain places. So you have to think, okay, I think I am followed by this monster, because once more we don't see them directly unless we rewind. So you always, the main gameplay is to always put the player in kind of doubt, even though he is not really faced with the danger, but just to make him kind of always wonder about his actions, about his path, if he should rather take another path which is longer or just go to the objective, even though he thinks he might be...
Okay, so it's mostly about finding my way through kind of a maze and being pursued by monsters in this context. There's no big interactions with the environments or anything, right?
Right now, no. However, we had an idea about using the rewind as a way to progress also through the level. For instance, with objects that you would kind of change position thanks to the rewind, as you can rewind it in the past, or even making links between different tapes as it's in different time periods, and making kind of a puzzle game where you, let's say in 90 you push a desk, and then in another tape it unlocks something else. But we are not quite sure right now.
Yeah, just so one last comment regarding this. You were mentioning a mid/open level design thing in the way you will build your levels. I think you should watch out, because the point of this type of game is maintaining the tension for the player, and by having too much open structures, it can impact the tension and make the player lose his main objective. And, you know, that was just my personal comment again. But thank you, and the creative vision overall looks pretty exciting.
Hello, still Gaston, still a user researcher at Ubisoft Bordeaux. I really do love those type of game. I'm a really huge client of horror games. I do think it's a really difficult genre to achieve, and specifically in terms of user experience. I had a question. It's kind of related to the narration of the game. Kind of. I was just asking myself what type of environment you planned to do. My question is, I do find a really strong inspiration from the back rooms in the videos you showed us. Do we evolve in an environment that is surreal like that, or are we in a real castle grounded in the real world, or will there be supernatural type of stuff like that?
So again, I will start answering and then giving it back to the artistic guys. So far, one of the reasons we chose it works. One of the reasons we chose the castle setting is that it's old buildings that, especially in France, for example, that show the passing of time through their architecture. Sometimes they can be, you know, augmented or remade. And so, yes, in some ways we are aiming for the possibility of having different sets of atmospheres through these, this fact about castles. But on the side of the atmosphere of back rooms, I will let it to Vincent.
So yeah, for the castle, in fact, we decided to focus on the castle because it's kind of a conventional place to set an horror game, but it's also enabled us to play with the size of the rooms. We can make long corridors, we can make bigger rooms, we can make small areas, and we can. It's not as conventional as, for example, an hospital, where it's really well defined. We can really play with the environment and make something interesting. And for the back rooms, at the beginning of the project, we were really inspired by some games that were released. For example, the Complex Expedition. It's a game that is happening in the back rooms. But I think we don't want really to copy this kind of settings with unusual architectures and release things impossible.
Thank you.
And also regarding backrooms and liminal spaces, It's less interesting regarding the sound design because we would like to have a strong narration convinced through sound design, and liminal spaces are, I think they work better when they are really low-key regarding the sound design, and the place of a castle can be much more impacting regarding narration through sounds rather than liminal spaces that are they work great when they are nearly silence. So yeah.
Thank you. We do have a question online. So Mylène.
Hello, still Mylène, still Raccoon Business, still marketing. First, thank you for the presentation. As you kind of said, horror game is a trend at the moment, including photorealism one. So you will have a lot of competitors. One of the things which is important, it's the amount of text, because while releasing a horror game right now, a big challenge is to target Asian market. Just to give you an idea, I just released a horror game 2 weeks ago, and 40% of our revenue is coming from Japan, 10% from China. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind. I just have a question about the rewind. I think it's a really great hook. And yeah, it's really great, but game design wise, I still struggle to understand how it's work, because in the video you just rewind but you don't really walk back, and when you pitch it, for me it's like if you go through a corridor and you use a rewind, you will just walk in the other way, like, and start again at the beginning, and I'm not sure it does that right now. You also say it's a consumable. Will you be able to find more to do a rewind again? How does it work exactly?
Well, regarding the rewind, yes, it's not as simple as it may seem, because we made the choice to make everything but the player go back. So the player is in fact even able to move. While he's rewinding. However, his whole environment will go back in time. And we made this choice because most of the time you will be running out from the monsters, so you won't face them. And so if you rewind with the camera not facing the monster, you won't be able to know until when you go back in time. So it will be quite difficult. We also made that, we also thought about it as a resource, so that you cannot overuse it. And so you have to really manage, it's kind of your only resource, and you have to manage it, and to often make the choice of saying to yourself, well, maybe I will try to avoid the monsters without the rewind, taking the risk of not analyzing well the situation. Or you might think that, okay, in this situation, I don't want to take risks, and I just rewind to see where is the monster, because I suspect the monster to be near me. I'm not sure I answered the question.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And
as for the localization, yes, we thank you for bringing this up. So we are aware this genre is a kind of a niche already. So we are targeting. We want to be able to profit from as much as the widest player base as possible regarding the languages. And I will add that for the rewind thing, that's from a narrative point of view, we also play on that because it creates like the person in the tape is aware that
the tape is rewinding, so it puts a stress on the present past element that we mentioned, the two timelines that we were very soft during the presentation, but we are working on a system like that for narrative right now.
And also regarding the cultural sensibilities and the different player bases that we could aim for, we've tried to identify which type of horror we'd like to push forward in the narration. We've studied American horror versus Japanese horror, and so we are currently trying to find which elements are more suited to what we'd like to tell, and yeah, it's work in progress basically.
Hi again. So yeah, it's your mic. Okay. So I'm still Clémentine Plissonnier. I was your teacher, and I also work as a freelance game designer. I had a few questions. First, I would like to emphasize about accessibility and horror game. It's very important for an horror game to be to carry a sort of ambience. So your flashes, camera effects, head bobbing, stuff like that will be. You should be able to deactivate them in the final version. That was so. Yeah, you know that, but I'm still saying it. But my main question is about your game design. I think you have a lot of ideas, a lot of elements, but for now they are not very much connected to one another. I feel like that. For example, the tapes and the present phase. It's interesting, but for now, I think you don't exploit it to its maximum. So for now, it has kind of an effect of a gadget effect. You might want to avoid that. I think it's better for a game to like cut something that is a gadget or use it to its full potential. So you have talked about puzzles, you have talked about putting two tapes together, like gluing them or something, I don't know. No, you have not talked about that, so I invented that. It's too complicated, don't do that. But yeah, you have ideas like that, so that's interesting, but what do you do about this phase? Do you really need it, or can you just control the tapes from the past phase? I know it's maybe less sexy to have just one phase of gameplay, but it would be, in my opinion, it would be more effective, so you might think about that. Also about your creatures. I know it's something that we want to achieve when we do a student project or a game, because I did one at Enjmin in my old time. So you want your players to be able to understand the creatures, to make decisions. You talked about taking risks and stuff like that. So for that, to anticipate your creature behavior and placement, you have to make sure your player understands the creature and will be able to anticipate it. So there is, I think I would focus on one creature because it's a huge work, and I would focus a lot on what you need as a kind of signs, feedbacks and stuff like that to really make the player able to learn about the creature, because if you don't do that, you will not be in doubt but more in lost domain. Okay, so be really careful about that. If you want your player to be able to anticipate the risks, the player not just to be reactive to things that they perceive, you have to be careful about that. And for me, it's really a part of the horror game identity. So yeah, for me, it's really important in terms of making decisions, which path can I take? What do I hear? What do I see? Can I see something? Is it really invisible all the time? Think about these questions, and maybe you'll have to use your rewind more. So yeah, and when you have this structure of your gameplay that is really more solid, you will be able to perceive if the rewind is too powerful, because it might be. it might be too powerful, and we want to avoid that because it's about the feeling of vulnerability. So yeah, go further, exploit your design, be more precise, and then you will be able to avoid the risks, and maybe be more focused on how to learn my monster's behavior more than giving a lot of tools to counter something. So be more in the anticipation and doubts and risks, and less in the reaction. Okay?
Yeah. Thanks a lot for your remark. First of all, regarding the scope and the two gameplay phases, we're quite aware about it. And the fact that we build a prototype and we wanted to focus more on the surviving phase, that's our core gameplay, and we know that. But we did not have the opportunity to test it right now because we're facing a few issues like COVID-19 or
yes,
COVID-19 and Perforce license problems. But as soon as possible, we're going to test our core gameplay mechanics, like rewind and the only monsters, and after that, we're going to.
And for the other points, like so accessibility, so yes, indeed, there is this about the ability to toggle or some effects.
Sounds too.
Yes. We are also, then there are all the others that are like standard kind of like subtitles that are readable, remapping and stuff. And we are designing, we are going, I mean, like we're starting a work on a design for a hearing impaired audience. So at the moment, for example, our inspiration, like our work is around a game I don't play, and it is what? Fortnite. Yes, Fortnite, and that has a ring of sound, visual. And we believe that it's not only okay, in Minecraft also, and not only a good idea for accessibility, but also a good idea of like maybe like it would convey also it could as well be a tool to convey horror because visual things are in some ways more real than sound. Sometimes we believe it's. I mean, I don't. What I mean is sometimes we think, oh, did I hear something? No, I was wrong. But then I see that in the ring that, oh, no, something happened. But where is it? I can't see anything. It's just. So we think it's an idea both for accessibility and another way of playing it as well.
Really quickly, we will be able to talk about it, but game designers, you can test without a build, find ideas, you can test with your ears and minds, you can test with paper, try to be able to find ideas to test without the build, it's okay. Your answers was great, and I have no time, so we'll talk about it after.
Hello, Timothée again. First, I like the fact that you don't want to use screamers. I think it's very, it will help you a lot to avoid cliches in the genre, so that's great. But I have a question for sound. We know that for sound it's really easy to use screamers, and since you will avoid that, in your presentation you have a clear idea of the aesthetic. But in the video, it's short, but it's hard to build tension in such a short video. But I didn't feel what element you could bring to increase that tension. Do you already have ideas of what to add, and maybe to maybe have some parts of the sound that would be really specific and benefic to these kind of tensions?
Yeah, thank you for this question, because it allows me to talk about sound. It's kind of it's kind of a important problematic for the game. I was talking about that yesterday with a sound designer, and so it's going to be difficult to manage immersive sound design and narration through sound design. It's one of the challenges I pointed out. For example, the VHS slash Super 8 camera and the filtering aspect of it kind of reduces what we can do with the sound. And so I think what we could do is increase or decrease the distortion of the audio related to the camera in order to feel the presence of the creature around you. That's one possibility. And also, I didn't really work on ambiances for this prototype because of time. But I think that I could really play with different barks and one-shots in the ambiances to not as screamers, but at least as a way to convince the idea that the castle is possessed or maybe haunted. So, yeah. Yeah.
Also, maybe you have something strong in your game. It's with the rewind mechanic. So, as my colleague said, try to use it the best possible. And maybe it could be something for you to use, not just to understand what's going on with the time, but maybe create a link and a narration between all the timelines, and through that narration maybe you could have many possibilities to create tension. So maybe that's something you can all keep in mind, because sound could be very powerful with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And one of the projects that I studied for this game was Immortality, which is a narrative project where you have to watch different parts of a movie, and you can rewind to kind of see the maybe cut, the scenes that were cut and new characters that appear on camera. I think it's a great game to study for narration and also for sound design, because you can we could try to recreate this effect of narration through rewinding the audio that you've just heard. So yeah.
Great challenge for you.
Yeah.
We have two more questions.
Hi, Laura, producer at Playdigious, an indie publisher. It's more a remark. I think I didn't understand quite well something. At the beginning of the presentation, you said that the first phase was about watching tapes of people who died on the castle. So it's the present. And then you kind of go to the past phase and you play those people, but your goal there is to not die. So did they die there or not?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Sorry for I'm so sorry because I manipulate it a lot. It makes bad sound. You mentioned, Laura, yes, the people who die in the tapes. It depends on the person on the tape. And so, for example, we said it in a way to signify that it's different person, it's other people, but sometimes they leave. Sometimes it's just the tapes that ends. Sometimes it's because they die and it's scripted, like narrative purpose. But voilà.
Hello, I'm César from Asobo Studio. So I don't. I think you answered some of it, but the question was, what was the tape? Are there like maps, like you spawn somewhere when you start watching the tape, or you can start watching it anywhere, and it's just like a layer on top of your own level where you watch tape A, and there's some enemies somewhere, some doors are open, some are closed. I don't know, like a timestamp, or is it like just a map and you spawn somewhere and you have to find out what's to find out?
So right now, at the moment, the answer is the latest. So it's just a kind of a chapter, you spawn there. But our project started like the other version you said. And we shifted because we were worried about the rhythm of the experience and the fact that, sometimes you would just look at the tape and navigate around it and then play it. And we had some pacing concerns. So we shifted to this, but it is something we could work on more. The thing is, I would point that from each tape, you might start at a different location and you might explore different areas of the castle. Like we mentioned earlier that the level design is mid-open, which we say it that way because we want to convey the feeling of it's wide enough for you to evade, to explore, to get lost a bit, but it's also like enough cornered, enough closed, so that we can still preserve some parts for narrative purpose or also gameplay purpose. So for example, like some rooms would be closed, inaccessible in some tapes, open in others, or this kind of thing. We could this way play with the changing of the level design through only opening and closing doors, for example.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Good presentation.
Okay, one last question or remark, and then we can let you go after that.
It's a very small question, but do we know why are those people filming themselves? I don't think I understood that in the presentation.
Actually, it's not really defined yet, but it's because we did not work enough on the world building, actually, because we wanted to focus on the core gameplay and mechanics. So that's why it's not defined, but we're working on as soon as possible.
And try we wanted to know the technical feasibilities of things, of the complexity of the project itself as well.
Okay, because it could be interesting for the immersion to understand why are we here and what are we watching.
And also, yeah, the bottom-up way we've designed the game. As artists, we didn't really, it was not the main concern yet to design the narration, but it's definitely going to be, actually it's our next goal, and it's going to be really helpful to create, one, to create tension, and two, to find the different tools to create the creepy aspect of the game. And not rely on jump scares and etc. And playing the demo and not knowing what the monster is and what's their story, you're not really scared of it. But once you know the different backstory of the monster, you're going to be much more impacted by what it can do or cannot do to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your questions. So let's congrats the team, Run Out. and all the teams of this morning. Thank you for this exchange. We will have 2 hours break now, so time to eat and time to exchange with them directly on the workplace, le plateau projet on top of the amphitheater. Thank you so much for this morning. Thank you for the people online. Yes? No, later on. We're gonna eat and then they come in half an hour or so. Thank you to the people online as well. And we will see everybody back here in the amphitheater 1:45. Have a nice break. Well, for the people here, so there's lunch for the jury. So it's downstairs at Foyer Magellis, just downstairs. And then for everybody at the Plateau Prochet, you can start to go there in half an hour and whenever you want after that. Thank you.